Good afternoon or good evening. Welcome to our 5 o'clock meditation session, which is meditation when bad lands. And we'll begin shortly. I'd just like to wait just 2 minutes or so for people to come in. If you are entering in, and if you wouldn't mind just checking in with the box and saying hi, or just letting me know you're here, that'd be nice, helpful. And that way I know when to begin. Hey Theo, nice to see you. So this is our 5 p.m. Yeah. This is our 5 p.m. session, and I've been looking at my web page and realizing there's about 6 of these already, 7 I believe, and so it's nice. Hello Mark. And so starting to get used to this, and it's interesting to do them every day twice. It kind of gives me a schedule in this world of completely amorphous scheduling here on this weekend. Does it feel like a weekend? I think weekends are now something in the past. Weekends, weekdays, there's not much difference. Anyhow, so today with our mindfulness practice, our meditation practice, I'd like to talk a little bit about thoughts. Because when we're doing mindfulness, when we're doing meditation, we basically have sort of one target, which is our breath, keeping our mind on the breath, and then we have thoughts, and it's going to alternate back and forth between the two of them. So breath goes on for a while, we notice it, thoughts come up, we notice them, and we often think that when we're having thoughts, that's a bad thing. We should be doing this breath, and we generally have a very high bar for ourselves that we think that we should really be fully accomplished with our meditation practice, or at least focusing. It seems like we should be able to do what we want to do with our mind, but habits are very strong. Hey, Deborah Reynolds, wow. Habits are very strong. We have been doing these same thoughts 15, 16 hours a day, Holly. And 15 and 16 hours a day of the same thoughts kind of makes the same pattern of thought in our mind. There's a really great analogy to this, that if rain falls on a dry plain, when rain falls on a dry plain, it starts drifting off and draining off, but after a while the same rivulets start happening, and it starts getting to be sort of digging into it, and eventually forms a little crevices and forms canyons. And so as time goes on, as that rain comes down, we cut in more and more into the soil, and we get more and more of a crevices and canyons. And that's kind of how the brain is too. When we have thoughts, they start getting used to going in the same way. And so when we learn something, it's a difficult thing because our mind is thinking the same way. So when we have thoughts, if we have the same ones over and over, we could say that we're training in those same thoughts over and over and over. And we're putting them into those gullies and gulches again and again and again. So our thoughts are really interesting just to think about. We think of ourselves as, intelligent, bright people, and we understand what's going on in our minds. But to think about the habitual attitude, the habitual aspect of thoughts, are constantly same things happening again and again. Oh my goodness, somebody from Europe. Hello, Melita. Nice to see you. Must be getting late for you. So I want to start with just reading one little tiny bit from my book, When Bad Lands. Again, I wrote this book for when we hit terrible times, and how we can work with meditation and other things to help us through very difficult times. That's what this book is about, and it's amazing that we're going through very difficult times right now, and I think the book is particularly apt. So this is a chapter from one of my 7 skills in the book, and it's called Not Believing Everything You Think. Something I had to deal with when I was going through a really powerful depression, a very difficult time in my life. Thoughts kept coming, negative thoughts kept coming over and over and over. And I realized I had to work with that a lot. because those same thoughts came again and again and again. So this chapter is the first of my 7 skills that I came up with after going through this very difficult, challenging time in my life, not believing everything you think. So it starts with a quote. Hey, Barbara. The quote is from the Buddha: "We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world." I'll read that again. We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. And then I go on and say, it is estimated that we think close to 70,000 thoughts per day. That's what they say in brain science. That's 3,000 per hour. 50 every minute. Imagine that, nearly 1 every second. So which of our thoughts are true? Which are factual? Which would we put our money on? Some thoughts are undeniably true, while others can be quite a stretch. Some are barely believable, but we take whatever mileage we can get from them, especially when we need to save face or defend ourselves. So the point is that with 50 of these every minute, we have to figure out really which of those thoughts to believe. We can get very deluded and we think purely negative thoughts, and we think that's the truth of ourselves. We can be totally deluded with arrogance and think completely positive thoughts about ourselves. I won't mention any politicians. And we think that we're the greatest thing that ever happened. And those thoughts, we believe those. We think those are true. We are what we think. So the idea in practicing meditation is that we develop a quality called, in Sanskrit, called prajna, Prajna, and it means insight. It means highest knowledge. Jna is knowledge. Pra is the highest knowledge. And so we learn to discern which of those thoughts are true and accurate and which aren't. And this is really, I think, important for us right now, because you're going to spend all day listening to the news. That's all the thoughts you're going to have. There'll be no sense of having any kind of rest of a life going on. We'll focus completely on that. And if we ignore all that information too, we will be oblivious to all the things we need to do for ourselves in this time. So with our thoughts, we make the world. So let's pay attention with 50 of them going on per minute, almost 1 per second, to just notice them and not be afraid of them and not trying to shove them aside, not try to push them aside, because that's our habit, especially when we're having a very terrible time. I can't stop thinking. These thoughts keep coming and coming. Yeah, they're making those same rivulets and those same gorges and canyons in our mind, because it's just habitual flow. So meditation or mindfulness disrupts that flow. And we start looking at what's really happening now that is maybe free from all those thoughts. And we have a lot of wisdom that comes from just our body and our hearts and our senses. We've learned so much from that. And so as we do our meditation today, let's just notice those thoughts and realize they're amazing expressions and not be mad at them and not feel we have to push them aside. Okay? So meditation, always we get into a comfortable position that's upright but relaxed. If one has to lie down, that's entirely fine. We try to get a position that's upright and relaxed. Each vertebra is on top, stacked on top of each vertebra, one after another. The spine holds up the head. The shoulders are alongside that, and our whole frame is the solid part of the body that the muscles can just hang on. So the muscles can be loose and relaxed, like putting a coat on a chair, and the frame holds it up. We can drop our hands to our sides, hinge at the elbows, and place our hands gently on the lap, where they naturally fall, not too far forward, not too far back. And now our shoulders are in alignment. If we're on the floor, we could sit cross-legged. I'm not, I'm on a chair. Let's just check in with our body for a second. We might notice the tension that might be occurring somewhere in our body. And so we just go for the balance that we have and not trying to force anything, not trying to be super rigid, being relaxed but supported by our by our bones, by our spine. Tip our head just a little bit down, just tiny bit. We're still upright, and our eyes are cast downward, not looking at any particular point, no particular point of focus, just general soft view, a little peripheral vision. All our senses are open. And just check in for a moment. This is us. This is us with body and thoughts and emotions and whatever natural sense of energy that we have right at this moment. And we accept all of that because it brings us right to this spot, right here, right now. We don't have to move from that. As I always suggest, before we even connect with the breath, we just sort of connect with us being in this room, just a simple space. And this isn't just some kind of small mini step towards meditation. What we are feeling and doing right now is exactly the point of meditation. You've always heard that phrase, be here now. Just right here in this spot. And just take some breaths. And this thing that we are already is okay. It's already good. Our natural awake self is brilliant. And we make contact with that, something that's already there. We're not trying to change that. Not trying to pretend it doesn't exist. And again, our theme is not believing everything we think, but that still means there are some things to connect with that we think. So let's let our mind relax. We can have these thoughts. We can have these emotions. We can check in with ourselves. Again, let's take another breath. And let's keep our attention on that breath, on the feeling of the breath, the movement of the breath, the visceral feeling of the breath. Connect with that body feeling, not a thought, not a concept, but the actual real feeling, this brilliant, amazing sensory body, mind that we have together. Feeling the breath going in and out. It's always kind of funny in the beginning of meditation that it's easy to get distracted. But we're trying to settle in. We're kind of settling into a groove. It's like warming up. So we just keep bringing our attention back. We just keep bringing it back. It gets distracted. We keep bringing it back. We have negative thoughts. We keep bringing it back to the breath. And although we feel our breath all the way from our diaphragm to the chest to the nose, let's concentrate today right around the nostril area, feeling the breath rushing in and rushing out. Let's keep it at one point. There's a name for this. It's one-pointedness. It doesn't have to be at the nostrils, but let's use that right now for our object of our meditation. Feeling the breath flow through the nostrils, or the mouth if you have to be breathing through the mouth because of any sickness. Don't have to think there's something to do. Don't have to think you're getting it wrong. There's no judgment or rating or scoring. Complete sense of what's going on right now. Feeling that breath, keep bringing our attention back to the nostrils area, feeling it flowing in, flowing out. Take an interest in what's actually going on, even in a single breath, how it rushes and tapers off and turns around. And we can feel that all right here. And let's notice our thoughts today. Not have to do anything, but let's really notice them. When they come up, let's pause, go, oh, that was a thought about my tummy's growling. Or that's a thought about, oh, the sun's beautiful, whatever. But let's notice it with that attitude I've spoken about, just kind of, I'm thinking. No big deal. Attention just gets drawn back to breathing, drawn back to the feeling sensation. Nothing magical, nothing mystical, just feeling it flowing back and forth. If you're comfortable doing it around the nostrils. Maybe even start noticing every flicker of a thought. Maybe the just beginning of a thought. If we notice that movement, that sort of jerk of awareness, a little shift. We kind of relish that. We can pick that up. We can notice that. It's amazing. But if we get caught in a long, sticky thought, say the word to yourself, thinking, just like a label. Just, oh, that's thinking. And then bring your attention back to the breath, the feeling of the breath. "50 thoughts every hour," and we get to interrupt them gently with, oh, back to the breath. Don't have to keep carving that same gully in our brain, same path, same route. And before I ring the chime, let's just keep that kind of focus going on. Let's not shift ourselves. Let's still notice But now we're not noticing our breath. Let's just notice the environment with our eyes open. Pick up our gaze a little bit and we can look out. Maybe rock back and forth where you're sitting, feeling your body, loosening it up. And we try to carry that kind of gentle mindfulness with us as we come to being back in this room, not having a focus. So let's notice how we feel now for a moment. Oh my goodness, Denise, long time, hello. So the idea again is whether we are meditating or whether we're in our regular life, when thoughts come up, we don't have to believe all of them, but we learn with Prajna, we learn what that is to notice which are the real ones. Which one would you put your money on? Which thoughts are just clingy, grabby, sticky things? Because we say in the whole world of meditation that thoughts are not a problem. It's the stickiness, it's the clinginess, it's that snowball rolling down the hill, gathering more and more. And that's what we're working with, not habitually going into that same pattern, that same routine. So thank you very much. I started looking at one chapter in here from my 7 skills, which is not believing everything we think. I'll be talking about that again and other chapters in here which really apply to our situation of difficulty. I just want to encourage people to read this if they can. I'm hoping that we start moving into working, perhaps instead of Messenger, instead of Facebook Live, to start doing Zoom. And that way I can hear from you and we can have conversations and questions for those who are interested. I would still do a sort of a short session. If anybody wants to talk, we could do that. So I'm thinking about that. If you have any opinions, let me know. This has become a nice little community, and it's lovely to have you all here. So thank you, everybody. Lovely that you all could join in. Have a beautiful rest of the evening. It's Saturday night.